So I went to the game on Saturday, and now sometimes I feel like this is what Purdue fans feel like when, you're sitting in the stands and your team can do no right. And I'm not feeling good. It was kind of a hot day and there's like no wind. Anyone who was at the game, I mean, it was a beautiful day. The crowd was slammed. It was a packed stadium. Everyone there to see Marcus Freeman, his first game at home, and coming back, bounce back from the Ohio State loss, right? And I'm with people from Knights of Columbus, some people from church. I had a friend with me who I hadn't seen in 5 years, who's never been to Notre Dame, and he had to watch that shit show. And the whole time, one of the guys I'm with, his daughter goes to Purdue, and he's got some Purdue allegiance, and he's like showing me the score of Purdue, just touchdown after touchdown, and they're just running up the score. And I think they were up 56-0 over Indiana State at going into the fourth quarter. And I'm like, oh geez, if we could only be so lucky. I think the pick six by Buckner is where some people were just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. The crowd is dead. No one is standing. By the time Buckner gets injured and Pine's in there, kids behind me are, just optimistic and just like, oh, well, if we score, then we do an onside kick. And, they're doing this mental math, which, okay, that's fine. The game ends. Marshall fans, they're commenting on, this was just such a great experience for them and just how polite everyone at Notre Dame was, and this was just a worthwhile experience for them. And I'm just like shaking my head, and I don't really say much because what can I say? We lost to Marshall, and I'm grabbing cups in my sarcastic manner, and I grabbed probably 5 or 6 of those souvenir cups. I don't even think they give out paper ones anymore, and I'm just like making jokes where I'm gonna go home and write the score, in Marshall green and put that shit on eBay. So at least I get something out of this game. And I'm pissed because I've got a 3-hour drive home down US 31. I've got multiple people in my car and I can't have a single sip of alcohol. We got to drive home. We finally get back to the car. People are taking shots of Makers, which I bought, but that's fine, and I'm like, okay, we got to go get dinner somewhere. And so shout out to La Speranza over on Ironwood. If you want to go to some place that's not crowded and really close to campus, hit La Speranza out. Decent Mexican food. And the whole way home, I'm just mad and listen to Metallica, right? I'm not happy. We're making jokes at dinner about what the positives were, and it was like the band was good. The Coke was refreshing. It was so hot when you washed your hands in the bathroom. It was very refreshing. Like this is the kind of stuff we're dealing with. I didn't even watch the game on Sunday. I was so mad. I just needed to distract myself. The doc, she knows what kind of sick mental state I'm in. And she's like, hey, let's watch Top Gun finally. And I'm like, that sounds really awesome. And so I finally watched Top Gun 2, it was great. It was everything I hoped it would be. And, we had a bottle of Jameson that was brand new Friday night. It's already gone, right? I mean, the whole thing, it's just, I don't want to be negative. We have 10 more games left this season. Buckner's hurt. He's gone. He's injured for this season. And I want to believe that we can turn this around and not just be, negative in my spreadsheets and the data that we're going to probably talk about tonight. And I'm trying to come up with like a song or something that's just going to kind of embrace how I feel right now. And it's not going well. And then I'm starting to like be hopeful and like, well, and shout out to the people on Twitter who are positive and just like, okay, like the sun's coming up. We got a lot more of this game to go. Maybe Pine coming in is going to be a blessing. Who knows? And I'm just like, no, like we look terrible. I can't put a positive spin on this. And so what I thought of was Rudy, where Rudy's getting abused. It's like Notre Dame's offensive line getting abused by Marshall's defensive line. And this came to mind.
Run it again,
Sloppy. That's the only way I could come up to define this game. So, and we'll start opening up to people here. I don't want to just monologue here. I do want to get as many people talking tonight. But there's two things I need to say. First is I'm going to repeat a tweet I did earlier on Sunday, right before turning on Top Gun. Forget everything you think you know about this team. Embrace the now. Embrace what is. Then and only then will we succeed. Forget Harry Hiestand and his historical greatness and the rose-colored glasses we have with him. Forget how Reese is finally free from BK because that's very suspect right now. Forget everything about Marcus Freeman and how awesome we think he is. We need to forget all of that filter that we've had these first two games and possibly even the bowl game, because there's facts. We lost to Marshall, a Sun Belt Conference team, 86th in talent. Now, I want people to be very open and honest tonight, but I need to set some ground rules here. Well, it's really one rule, and that is, and this is going to be the status going forward in the show, because I've gone back and listened to the show, and I want people to be passionate, and speak their mind, but there's some things I cannot stand, and it is, do not break the second commandment. Drop an F-bomb, say shit, fuck, I don't care, okay? Do not drop a GD or a JC blast. You will get one warning, and then I'll boot you. I'm just not going to have it. So, and that's not to be preachy. I don't want people killing on this show either, right? Don't break commandments, right? Don't lie. Don't commit adultery during the show. That's very inappropriate. So, all right. So, let's go to Dave.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I see Jake. How you doing, brother? How you, man? I seen you're on here. I was hoping to see you Saturday.
Yeah, Jason's in here.
Guys, I think I'm going to come to the conclusion, and Kevin might agree with this. We got basically a whole new staff except for our head coach and our offensive coordinator, who were basically both our coordinators a year ago. And we got to remember these guys that are playing defense for us. If I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't we had like 4 defensive coordinators in the last 6 years or somewhere around that area? But, and it's got, there's been no continuity on the defensive side of the ball. And you guys know as well as I, and I know Kevin knows this too, because we both coach this sport, is that defense does win championships. And, when you can't find somebody and keep them around for a little while, it's kind of hard on a kid if you're going to run a 3.35 and then the next year running a 3.4 or a 4.3, over under. I mean, it's kind of tough to put these kids in situations like that. And I'm not making excuses, but having, a coordinator every other year and having to get used to a new system, because as much as last year when we watched the Florida State game, and then you watched our kids progress through the season and got used to this Marcus Freeman style defense that he put in. And now we have an Al Golden defense. And it's different. And so they got to get used to that.
To supplement what Dave is talking about, we've had 4 defensive coordinators in 6 years. Mike Elko for 1 year, Clark Lee for 3, Marcus Freeman last year, and now Al Golden.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tough, and I know these guys want to better themselves, the coaches that we've had previously, and I have zero problem with that because that's what this sport is all about. When you're at the college level, if you want to be a coordinator, fine. But some of these guys have, I think, moved on to head coaching jobs, which is fantastic because they have Notre Dame on their resume, and having a Notre Dame on their resume is pretty awesome in itself. But we need, we got to get some continuity because Saturday, I don't know what our offensive, I'm going to go the offensive side now. Our offensive, what we were trying to do offensively, I don't know, and we're still not running the ball like we should be. And I think Tyler Buckner's progressions, I was watching him, it's either basically one and run for him. If his number one wasn't there, he was basically bringing it down and trying to find a little alley and get as much as he could.
Yeah, and on that point, and I didn't go back and chart plays, and like I said, I caught a few highlights and that was it. I was so pissed, and I didn't really want to squeeze lemon juice into the paper cuts I got from that game. But to your point, it's like he's either looking for style, he's looking for like one or two guys, and Mayer and Styles are never on the same side of the field. Why Tyree and Diggs aren't getting more touches is beyond me, but I like Estime, but if it's not working, you got to do something. Like there's no reason, like I want to talk about the Buckner injury real quick. Like in the game, right? We're sitting up in the top, on the touchdown Jesus side of the stadium, right? And I saw Buckner go down, and then I see him run off the field, and I'm like, did he get injured? I don't know. And that was kind of my initial guess. And people around me were cheering that Pine came in, and okay, that's fine. You guys, you do you clearly don't listen to this show and listen to the data that I've dumped on why people like Drew Pine and how that's kind of a fallacy, and not to be mean or rude to him, but we've gone back to that, and anyone who's new, like Brian and other Kevin who's not on right now, which we'll get to you guys. There's a fun story we're going to share with everyone else that those guys know, or if you saw it on Twitter, but Pine comes in and it's like, okay, he throws a better ball, I guess, but, he has no ability to evade capture. He got sacked right there on that 2-point conversion, right? Which I don't know what that would have done other than get us in, within 3 if we had gotten the onside kick, which we didn't. I mean, you're not wrong, Dave, when you're talking about how Buckner is. Look, I said, we're not running. We're not doing tosses or being creative with the run. We're not doing bubble screens and slip screen. Like, why can Buckner not run out towards the sideline, have Mayer or a running back or even a receiver doing a crossing route across the flat, and then another guy doing a corner, and now he's got 2 options, one near, one far, or he can use his legs, right? We don't do any of that shit, right? With a mobile quarterback like Buckner, we end up just, and I tweeted this, I said we might as well just go Wildcat at this point because he was responsible for all of our points at this point. And it's just like, give me a break. So I'm not surprised he got hurt. I'm very disappointed. And it's, if we don't have anything else, look, if he could just sit in the pocket like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or, any of these other quarterbacks, that doesn't happen, right? Unless some, crazy Joe Theismann type of injury happens, right? But those are rare. And quite frankly, if you could just run between the tackles, which we can't, which is irritating against Marshall, then this kind of stuff happens. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Our offensive line, we got to look at that. I know we got the best offensive line coach the game has, but we got a bunch of young kids. I mean, Joe Alt was, the youngest kid playing after Fisher went out in the Florida State game, and then he comes back and plays one hell of a game in the bowl game. And other than that, we have like Jared Patterson and Jeff and Lug, and that's it. Really, as far as experience goes, we don't have a whole lot. And, and our coach can't just, you can't pull a rabbit out of the hat every time that, that we take the field, because, we got some inexperience at the offensive line position, and it's going to need some seasoning. And they're very good. They're very good athletes and very good at their positions, but they're going to need a little bit of time.
Well, and I agree with you, Dave. And then we want to jump over to Brian and Brian here, because guys, I'm going to send you an invite here.
Okay, because I got to get back and do some work, and I'll be back in a little while.
All right, take it easy, Dave.
All right, guys.
Cheers. So that's Dave. Anyone, he's a loyal supporter of the show, and he was also at the game, I believe, on Saturday. Wookie, we'll get to you. I know you requested to speak, but Brian and Brian, there's a funny story with them. But back to Dave's point, and I wanted to talk on this. Marshall, as a team, their talent is 86th in all of college football, average over the last 4 years. Notre Dame is 12.3. There's no reason why our linemen are out-talented by Marshall. There's no way. There's no reason why we are not getting a push, unless schematically we're doing stupid things. And I didn't have time to do this. Let me rephrase this. I didn't make time to do this, right? I had a busy day at work and was trying to distract myself, quite frankly, rather than get sucked down the rabbit hole of misery here. But I was really curious, and if someone else has the ability to do this on the fly, respect. But if we went down our offensive linemen, all 5 of them, and then we looked at, what was their star ranking, or what were they ranked as, like an offensive tackle or something in said year that, they enrolled at Notre Dame, right? We go down the list, we're going to have like 4-star across the board probably. And then go to the defensive front for Marshall, and where were those guys ranked? Like, would they even show up as a 3-star? And that's not to be mean or rude or anything, but it's like, there's no, like, we have so much talent, and it's like, we're not harnessing our abilities, and unless these guys are freaks of nature, and we've got, a bunch of sleeping Randy Mosses on the defensive line, which I don't think they have. But that's just something I was curious about, and it's kind of more of a food for thought rather than, actual data of comparing numbers like we like to do on this show. So anyway, so rather than being negative, I was kind of like, why don't we just go get a real shitty scotch and do that? And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to just be negative and just let the situation embrace me and ruin my life, so to speak. And so I went back to the cupboard and I reached back and I grabbed a really good scotch. We're having an Ardbeg tonight. It's one of the 3 on the southernmost point of Isla, Lafroig, Lagavulin, and Ardbeg. We're having an Ardbeg tonight. So that's what we're doing. So Twitter shout out. Let's jump over to the funny story. So we're at the player walk, me and, who I was with. And then, player walk's done. We're just kind of like, okay, what do people want to do? Who wants to go see the dome and da-da-da, because I'm kind of playing tour guide, right? And then one of the guys in our group, Garrett, he is like holding a phone and he's like, hey, someone dropped their phone. And so we're just like, get around the phone, me, my buddy Chris and Garrett, and we're like trying to, and it was unlocked, which is crazy. And I make the snide joke. I'm like, delete everything and sell that shit on eBay, which we didn't, Brian. We weren't going to do that. It's just more my sick sense of humor. But anyway, long story short is we called somebody. I don't know who it was. And so, Brian, if you want to jump on, or other Brian, you're invited to speak here. But these guys, someone lost their phone. I believe it was at Mr. Brian Thompson. And then he's accompanied by, I assume, 2 of his friends, at Big Kev OB and at Brian Bow 419, probably from Ohio, where he was born in April. Regardless, I believe first Brian with a Y, he had lost his phone, and so we had gotten a hold of one of his friends and his contacts, and just so happened to get the phone back. So, of course, me being me, I did the shameless plug of the show and said they needed to jump on, which you're not jumping on, but if you just want to listen, that's fine. So the Twitter shout out goes to Brian, Kev, and Brian. It was fun to meet you, and maybe this was a sign of things to come. The Chi was all fucked up at this point because you lost your phone and you almost lost your ticket to the game unless one of your other buddies, or you had all the tickets and your other two buddies didn't have it. Who knows how that works? So, Twitter shout out to those guys. Well, let's bring Wookie on, who's been very patient. Wookie, I wanted to do what you did at the end of the game on Saturday. Go ahead and unmute yourself. And you did not look like a happy camper on Saturday night. But I had to drive 3 hours home. So go ahead and unmute yourself, sir. Pink button. Pretend you've done this before. Maybe he's in the John. Wookie.
I was just thinking that. He's probably in the bathroom.
Hey, Red Snapper. Everyone, this is my co-host, my brother, Red Snapper 9098. What's up, bro?
Good evening from the West Coast. And yeah, I did catch the intro, and I definitely, mirror that. And I think everybody who saw my tweet was, with a heavy heart, I say goodbye to the Buck Wild package and, Godspeed your healing. But it is prime time for Pine Time, and there's no room for any negativity. We've got to be, positive with what we have, and it's going to get creative because now let's think outside the box. Let's literally start from ground zero and build from there.
We have to, right? Our Wildcat offense is now gone.
Yeah.
Unless we actually use Tyree.
This is a situation of what do we know about this team and start building from there.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. If people are still pissed about this game, because the results are unacceptable. And, there's a bunch of stats here that, I'm sure I'll get into, but I kind of want to get other people to emote if possible. But yeah, Wookie's on mute. He's doing his thing. That's fine. So we've invited Brandon. If anyone wants to just jump on by all means. This is a friendly place. I know it sounds kind of intimidating, right? But this is the Fighting Irish Faithful show. And this is episode 9 of season 3, volume 61. So Kevin wants to jump on. By all means, Kevin. Welcome back to the show, sir. Pink button.
Me? This is me?
Yes, sir. Welcome back, Kevin.
How's everybody doing?
Hey, Kevin.
I've done better, but I am going to the game this week, so I can't be too mentally deranged and angry, despite the fact that we had a little bit of Beastie Boys to lead in and welcome people in the lobby, so to speak. But Kevin, back to you. What do you want to talk about?
I know all over Twitter, I'm just going to piggyback on something Dave said, but all over Twitter, like a lot of people are talking about the offense. And I just want to talk about the defense a little bit because being a defensive coach, I really focus on that a lot. And I posted this during the game. I don't think we know how to set an edge. I mean, it looks so bad. I don't know if a linebacker was supposed to come down at that edge or what, but Fauski didn't do good at it. I mean, the Justin didn't do good at it. It was just bad, and that's why they ran the ball on over. Even at the linebacker level, they weren't even reading their keys. They were overplaying plays. It's like they forgot how to play football in one game.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
I saw your tweet. I was like, agreed, 100%.
Marshall had 219 rushing yards, and they ran the ball. They had 71 total plays, not as many as Notre Dame, but they ran it 50 times, and their run to pass selection was 70% to the run. I mean, and I came on here, before the game, in the previous game against Norfolk State, they ran it 63% of the time, and it's just like, hey, there's no surprise. Marshall runs the ball, right? I mean, Charles Huff, their head coach, he's not stupid, right? He's got a lower quote unquote level program there, but he's in his second year. He went 7-6 last year. He's got a winning record, right?
Yeah. I literally saw Marist. I don't know how to say his last name. Lafu, the linebacker.
That's close enough.
I saw him totally cross Bauer. Like, linebackers, you never cross the other linebacker. Like, if you cross the other linebacker, you read like somebody's off on a key read. He literally crossed and the ball came directly through his gap, like through his side. It's like, what are you reading? What are you paying attention to? But as far as the defensive coordinators, I was thinking about this when we first decided on Marcus Freeman becoming the head coach. My hope was that he will continue to be call the defensive plays. Like, because there is something about continuity when it comes to defense. Like you guys said, they had 4 defensive coordinators over the past 6 years. Well, and even Marcus Freeman started off slow last year in the first 2 games. He started off slow, right? And then it picked up. It got together. So hopefully that's what happens now, right? But I think if he was still the coordinator and we're still running his scheme per se with his terminology, his concepts, I think things would look a little bit smoother defensively. Now, I'm not saying that Al Golden is doing anything wrong, but when you bring in somebody new and he has his own terminology, his own thought processes, it causes some disturbance from the players that were there last year or the year before. They're used to one thing, and now we're flipping their whole thought process and the communication process. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what it seems like, right? If we don't get this defense back on line, we don't set the edge how we're supposed to, we're going to be in for a rough year. But I think they'll get it back here in Cal. I think they had a Sunday practice, so I think there's some they know that that there's some problems here. And so I think we'll get back on track with Cal, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's driving me up the wall per se from the defense is 2 things, right? And the biggest thing for me right now is we have not forced a turnover. We have not recovered a turnover. No fumbles, no interceptions. And to me that, and sometimes there's a little bit of, fortunate bounces, like we all can't have 2012 Manti Te'o where he's just a magnet to the ball, right? Or Tommy Zibikowski is just being sneaky and intercepting the ball, right? Like, I mean, that's great when that happens and we love it, but it's not happening right now. And maybe just because Ohio State and Marshall are disciplined football teams. I don't know. What I do know is that 2 times, and I was going to say this for later, but you kind of teed me up here, is, okay, special teams was decent. We'll come back to that. But, just like in the Ohio State game, right, we punt the ball, right? It's our last punt of the game, and it's a 37-yard punt, not great, but it's down to the Marshall 6. So we kind of flip the field, right? And I look at the scoreboard, I look up, see the Jumbotron, and I'm like, okay, 10 minutes left in this football game. We are up at this point. We're on the Marshall 6, and I just kind of like, I'm standing at this point, but then I sit because it was like a TV timeout, and I'm like, oh shit, this is exactly what happened last week. And what the fuck just happens? We go 94 yards, or at least Marshall does, in 5 minutes, and they got big chunk plays, because we missed tackles. One of them, like, Liafau was out, and then Brandon Joseph even missed the tackle in the same play. And, they got like 30, 25 yards on it, and it was like a run. It wasn't anything, fancy. And, missed tackles, no turnovers late in the game. And it's a repeat of the Ohio State game. And they ultimately score and they take the lead, right? And this is where everyone's just, I texted the doc and I'm just like, there's a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth in this stadium right now, because this is like deja vu, and the kind of bad kind of deja vu that you don't like seeing at Notre Dame. You don't like seeing it. And it's so irritating when that happens, and to see it again 2 weeks in a row, just, yeah, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that just gets people in a frenzy and a fury. And yes, it's 2 games in, but again, I go back to the same stat. It's Marshall. Like on talent alone, there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
But I would say that with Marshall, and I agree that there's no excuse with talent, but they did bring in a lot of transfer portal guys. So should that have made a difference? No. Could it have? Possibly. I don't know. But not enough to where we lose to them.
Well, and I think Brandon Joseph is decent. I think he's a great addition to our defense, especially back in the safety. Where we're trying to fill a hole that Kyle Hamilton kind of created only for half the year last year. But I mean, that's the kind of point I'm making. Just like you need a safety, you need kind of an enforcer back there. I think Red Snapper, you're the one who was saying that Brandon Joseph is going to be like the enforcer on the defense between him and Liafau with his, long Hawaiian, hair, which is a compliment. It's like, dude, like, where do we go from here, Kevin? Especially on defense.
In my opinion, there's the defense is fine as is. Like when I say that, I mean structurally, right? Like personnel and schematically. But I think what they have to do is get back to the fundamentals of just doing your dang job. Do your job. Not try to do everybody else's job. Just do yours. If you have to set the edge, set the freaking edge. Or if you have certain gaps, that's your gap. Stop overplaying. Right? Brandon Joseph, you're going to come down and hit somebody, make sure it's your job to do that and not lose depth coverage, right? So it's going back to the fundamentals saying, do your job, period. I don't need you to do anything extra. Just do your job.
Just hold our players accountable.
One thing that I saw, and it kind of goes right along with this, is doing your own job. You have to have the discipline, but you also have to have the trust of your guys on your defensive line, your linebackers, everyone doing their assignment. You have to trust that, especially on the defensive side. Offensive line is the same way. You have to trust your guys. The one thing that I saw from Marshall that was very obvious, besides their heart, they had continuity and they had trust in the guys that were lining up right next to them. There was a continuity and a trust, and with that, it bred a heart because they knew they were doing it together and each had their assignment and they knew they were going to win their assignment. And there was zero doubt with those players side by side on Marshall that you did not see on the offensive line or even on the defense. And I think that's where the defense is fouling up. You have people crossing over, like you said, Kevin. You had people cheating up when they shouldn't have been. They should have been dropping in coverage, but they were looking at things and they didn't do their assignment. They were covering somebody else because they thought either of themselves for a pick because they were going to sneak it, or they were going to, cover somebody because they missed the assignment the play before. There's no trust because there's no continuity, and that's going to come with experience. You see that in youth and in experience. So for me, it's gut check time. It's, do you have the heart? But do you also, part of that, have the discipline and the trust in your fellow teammate? You do your job, let them do their job.
Great.
What's interesting is I'm going through the numbers here, right? And for anyone who's new to the show, someone like Brandon with a Y or whatnot, I every week, I'll break down all the stats. There's about 22 stats that I go through before the game, and then kind of the box score, kind of just break it down so I can see it in kind of a straightforward way. And what really jumped off the page was that in addition to the run percentage of Marshall being 70%, do you know that they passed the ball with a 76% completion percentage? I mean, good grief! Like whoever this quarterback is, he wasn't tearing us up per se, but gosh, 76% completion percentage. He had a better QBR than Buckner or Pine, right? And again, not to be negative, but I mean, Pine, when he comes in, and again, he comes in at the end of the game and he's not had any time to settle in. He's kind of being like, here, try to win the game if you can, buddy. Good luck, and, you're going to be running for your life out there. But poor Pine, I do feel bad for him. He had a QBR of 12 in the game. He he really threw 2 picks, but he got saved by a penalty or something. Yeah, it's like, and then we go for 2, and then of course he gets sacked because he doesn't have the speed and the elusive behavior that Buckner has, right? To roll away and potentially run out of that. So who knows? I mean, Kevin, I really appreciate your input and your positivity. This is meant to be constructive criticism. I don't purposely wait till Tuesday. It's kind of more of a Tuesday thing to just because I'm not competing with Monday Night Football. And Sunday is, I just don't have that much time to I'm doing other shit on Sunday, around the house. Right. So Kevin, thanks for joining us. We are going to go now to Jam at JA Miko 703. If you've been invited to speak, go ahead and hit the pink button in the lower left-hand corner there. Jam, like the Michael Jackson song. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
Thank you, and I'm late, so this may have been discussed already, and I apologize if it is, but you folks were talking about the continuity.
Just don't break the second commandment. Warning to everyone. After that, I don't care.
You were talking about the continuity piece, and one of the challenges I think these kids have faced is they had 3 coordinators. The systems have been a little bit different, but the personalities have been dramatically different. And I think that that inconsistency undoubtedly has to take a little bit of a toll on them on a preparation and a psyche standpoint. And I thought they'd have more confidence coming out of that performance against Ohio State on the defensive side of the ball. But they flinched a little bit, but I think they'll grow up from that. But when you're talking about assignment football, like Marshall's last touchdown, you can't perfect coverage, but he gave up his assignment and went after the quarterback. That pass doesn't get completed if the nickel stays there in the end zone. Are you
referring to the pick 6, or are you referring to the long?
No, the long drive.
I'm with you.
When he rolls out, when he rolls
I had to
was,
give that jab out there because, technically, no.
Yeah,
no, you're right. Continue.
Yeah, but when he rolls out, until he attacks that line of scrimmage, you have to play assignment ball. And I think, to your point, it's an aggressive mistake. Guys trying to make plays, but it wasn't assignment football. Yeah,
I mean, and I'm kind of surprised we're talking a lot about defense tonight, which is great because defense wins championships. Maybe it's because we have a resident defensive coordinator as one of our co-hosts in the wing here with Kevin. But no, I mean, the defense needs to do better, right? I go through the numbers, prior to this game. Scoring defense is the most important defensive stat, and we're ranked 69th in the country. It's not terrible, but it's not where it should be. Okay. We lost, right? Our total defense, we're not good, but our rushing defense is atrocious. Right now, we're ranked 113th in the country, and that's something I wanted to talk to earlier. I kind of jumped over it in my monologue, but of the 21 stats that I go through, 9 of them, we are ranked in the 100s. There's like 129 teams in all of college football, or whatever the hell it is, right? And we are in the 100s of 9 of them, and 3 of them are in the top 5. Okay, total touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and scoring offense. The 3 most important offensive stats were in the 100th, 115th, 111th, and 117th. And then rushing defense, I just mentioned, 113th. That is not good. That is not good. And we need to fix this. And that just shows like how stale our offense is right now, but also to what you guys are talking about, the defense, with an identity or missing assignments or, this discontinuity, what have you, and that's kind of, again, I go back to it's Marshall, and it shouldn't matter if you're new in the program. Defense is one of those things where it's like, look, just kind of put him out there, put him in a decent position, and then go sick him, boy, right? Like, I mean, we've got fast players, right? Unless we're doing like crazy blitzes and we're totally out of position, as long as we have fundamental sound tackling, if we've got decent players, it seems that we should be able to jump in there.
And the other point to all of that offensive stats being in the hundreds is that explains why the defense is gassed. If we're constantly 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and the offense is that stale and we have to put that much pressure on the defense and they are exposed that much, absolutely they're going to be gassed. Absolutely people are going to be able to adjust and find chinks in the armor.
Right. And what's surprising is that like the time of possession doesn't even like really. I mean, Marshall technically won the time of possession 30 minutes, 47 seconds versus Notre Dame's 29 and change. But like that doesn't even feel right. It feels like Marshall had the ball all the time. I don't know. Well, Jam. If I had the Michael Jackson song queued up, I'd totally play it right now. You know, maybe we'll do that in the podcast version. You know, you guys won't hear it live, but when it's on podcast version, iTunes, Spotify, or even YouTube where it'll get uploaded, Fighting Irish Faithful, we might throw that in there. But Jam, anything else you want to say? And then we're going to try to jump over to Dos Leprechauns if he wants to jump on. But Jam, last thoughts.
No, I'm still as excited about the Freeman era as I was going into the season. I think people anticipated a learning curve. I don't think we anticipated it being this significant.
Or this rocky.
But at the same time, yeah, or this rocky. But I love the guy's passion, his excitement, his enthusiasm. He's energized people, and I think the results will show. And just hope he, doesn't flinch. And he's going to have to make some hard decisions, I think, at the end of the season. But we got to navigate Game 3 now and get a W and roll from there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think let me put it this way, something needs to radically change on this football team, whether it's motivation, just better tackling or whatever, but something needs to radically change. Well, we are going to go to Dos Leprechauns if he so wishes to join us. And Jason, are you there?
I am on, and I apologize in advance if my call gets a little shaky. I'm in Arizona driving home from work, so it's a little touch and go.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Jason, thank you for joining us. For everyone who doesn't know, this is Jason at Dos Leprechauns, a very definitely been doing this a lot longer than I have, and probably a lot more professional with better connections, I'll put it that way. But Jason, I wanted to bring you on because in the offseason, right after Coach Freeman was hired, you and I had an actual phone conversation about Coach Freeman. Do you recall that conversation?
I sure do. I was on a walk going from the grocery store back to my apartment.
Oh, nice. Did you and what did we discuss, or what I guess what did we conclude, I guess, from that? We discussed a lot of things, but
yeah, I remember you making some comments about some potential roadblocks in the way, and me probably not agreeing with you because I never want to think that my Irish can do any wrong, but in my head probably thinking, damn, he's got some good points there. But yeah, we talked about some potential roadblocks. I mean, everybody loves a winner. Everybody loves when somebody comes in like Coach Freeman with energy and passion and recruiting 4 or 5-star talent, one after the other, and having that connection with the players. But I think what we're seeing now is, like you said, man, we're seeing some of those roadblocks, those speed bumps, right? Where he's never been a head coach anywhere in his entire career.
Yep.
He's a relatively new defensive he had relatively, short experience as a defensive coordinator. And now he's coming into the most prestigious program in the history of college football and expected to take a team that, let's be honest, didn't have the same firepower as last year's team. And every fan is like, look, if you don't get us to the playoffs, we don't like you anymore, essentially, is what it comes down to. And yeah, it's going to be, it's been a little bit of a tough couple of weeks, obviously, but
You're talking about roadblocks, and I'm thinking of a Rocky Road, so that's why Rocky Road to Dublin's playing in the background here.
I
So.
was like, what the heck is going on here? I thought that was my phone.
That's the power of the mixer. I can do fun shit like this. But sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. So
no, you're good. But yeah, the roadblocks are obviously coming to fruition, right? So the lack of in-game adjustments, the lack of getting through some of those positions in the game, I think they're starting to kind of come to fruition like you predicted. And now it's going to really be a test of what does this guy really have? Is he somebody that's going to rally the troops, so to speak, or is he going to continue to have some of these challenges?
Yeah, and I think everyone was very high on Marcus, joining it, and like Red Snapper and I. This is before we were high tech with mixers and playing music in the background, but I literally had the phone up to the microphone and put it on speaker, and Red Snapper and I had literally a phone conversation that I just happened to capture right after he was hired, and the team is basically tackling him in the locker room, and everyone's seen that video clip, and that was just a good time, and everyone was feeling really good about that. And then Jason and I, we were talking, and I think it was after the bowl game, after the loss, and we concluded that it may take a year or two for us to kind of get back to BCS or playoff games, and that's not to be negative tonight. I think that's just embracing reality that neither you nor me or people that listen to the data that I try to provide on this show, will be surprised to say that, look, did I think we would lose to Marshall? No. If we had this performance against, say, like North Carolina or even BYU, maybe. But Marshall, that's kind of like making my like knee jerk, right? But at the same time, it's like, look, and I think you said this on Twitter. Holtz lost his first game, I think his first 2 games, and he went 1-4 in his first 5 games at Notre Dame. By year 3, he was undefeated, and we were national champions. So you and I are not surprised, quite frankly, that this happened.
No, not at all. And I'm not surprised, but like you, I did not see a loss to Marshall. I thought we were going to beat Ohio State, and I think that with a few, breaks one way or the other, we win that game. And I think, quite frankly, and I'm not an excuse guy, but good God, there was a lot of holding of our defensive linemen in that game. The more I think about it, the more I really, really think about it, and I'm, again, not making excuses for Coach Freeman, even though I absolutely love the dude, not making excuses for the team, but you got to think that there was a little bit of a hangover effect, right? So you go into Ohio State, biggest game in college football in the season, maybe in the last few
10
years.
10 million people watching it on TV, right?
Right. You got all this emotion. Coach Freeman going back to Ohio State, all these different storylines, and they played with their hair on fire, man. They came out ready to rock and roll. They were hitting.
Up at halftime.
Incredible. And then,
Ohio State people have to buy new underwear because they shat themselves, not thinking they were going to be up by 30 at halftime.
They were already figuring out, which kid they were going to beat when they got home.
Sad. Ouch.
But regardless, we lost the game, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to come out pissed off. Something didn't seem right from the get-go. It just seemed slow and uninspired, and something was off. And I don't know if there's something that went on in the program that week that we're not hearing about, or if it was just, a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that had a tough week before and felt like they let their guy down. And now I think what's going to happen is we're going to see a completely different Notre Dame football team on Saturday. I really, really believe that, because they are embarrassed right now. They are the laughing stock. They're the joke. Everybody, all the haters now have a reason to say, yeah, you guys are overrated. And what can we honestly say, right?
Yeah.
So now it's up to the players.
What defense do we have?
The only defense they have is to kick the living crap out of Cal and North Carolina and UNLV. All these games that we should win strictly due to talent, we have to win, and I think we have to win big in some of these. And at this point, I'll just take any kind of win. But I really believe we need to win some of these games by 2-3 touchdowns, and then go into Clemson and kick them in their ass and throat punch USC and all those kind of things, and let the chips fall where they may. But It's about development, attitude, and setting the tone for the future. One thing I want to address real quick is that I've been really, really closely following a lot of our guys in the 23-24 class that have already committed and are already locked in. I don't see even a hint of wavering that we didn't expect. And I say I didn't expect because I think we all knew Peyton Bowen was an opportunity, was the guy that might be looking elsewhere. He's as good as gone. I think he's going to go to the best deal he can get for NIL.
Sure.
And that's fine. But a lot of these other guys, you know, the what I'm calling the big three wide receiver group, Rico Flores and some of these other guys, they're locked in, man. They got a text group going. They're fired up. They want to get into South Bend and help. And so I'm not worried about the recruits at this point. Now, who knows in a few weeks what that'll look like, but I really think we've got a locked-in group, and I think we've got a group that believes that Freeman's truly going to take us back to the promised land.
Yeah. And on that note, especially with respect to wide receivers, and this is something just that I wrote down on my page here, is Tobias Merriweather. We haven't seen him yet, and he's our only receiving recruit going into this season, and we haven't really seen him at all. And it's like, I mean, I realize, you know, there's only so many plays, and, you know, I would always love that we run the football, right? And Buckner, of course, was struggling passing. But, I mean, to your point, Jason, where if we've got recruits coming in that clearly want to come in, they want to contribute, they want to play and do all these other wonderful things at Notre Dame. But I really think some of that will go to playing the younger guys, playing Merriweather. Now, what helps with that? You're beating the snot out of a team and you're up by 30 points. And so, okay, yeah, you know, play all the seniors, you know, that kind of stuff happens. And then you put the freshmen in and, you know, the guys that you know, didn't redshirt or whatever. You know, that's the kind of stuff that helps, I think, fuel the young talent. Like, see, we do play young talent here at Notre Dame. And right now that really hasn't happened with Merriweather, which is kind of like, really like, we need to do something different, you know, this week. You know, maybe he's the secret sauce.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had Sunday practice with the announcement of everybody's job is up for grabs and see who wants it. And it kind of goes back to what I said is Marshall very obviously had heart that we didn't. And if it takes the young guys supplanting somebody and, you know, the hierarchy of position 1, 2, and 3 and the depth chart is up for grabs, we're going to see who really wants it because those young go up and take it.
That's essentially what Freeman said at the press conference after the Marshall game, is that everything's going to be evaluated. Everything's on the table. No position is safe, essentially. So I really hope you guys are right and that we finally get to see number 15 out there catching some footballs, because the guy can play. He's fast. He's big. He's a possession guy.
Yep.
Get him the ball on the outside.
Went to a really good high school.
Don't ask him to run any crazy routes. Just, hey, post, catch the freaking football over somebody's head, right?
Yeah, you're right. Well, Jason, I really appreciate you jumping on here.
Could you imagine an offense that has Mayer, Bauman, and Merriweather?
Right. No, I know.
Put those guys in trips. Shit.
Yep. That's what I want to see Sunday or Saturday.
And that was our most effective play. We did trips once, and it was basically a screen pass, right? And it's like we got almost a first down on that play. I was like they went in trips, and they did it in the middle of the field, which is the best part. Trips, far, you know, all bunched up together, and it's like that is a classic screen pass. And Marshall hadn't seen it before. They didn't know what to do. They were like looking at each other, looking at the safety. Coaches are, you know, yelling and waving on the sideline. And I'm like, please snap it now. And I got a perfect view of it. And who was it? I think it was Tyree who caught it. But the point is, like, that's the kind of stuff that give credence to Tommy Rees and some of his creativity. He hasn't run my favorite play. It's like this counter toss play. I wish I could describe it better, but that's really what it comes down to.
The forward shovel pass.
No, it's not even a shovel pass. It's literally like it's a designed run, but it's like a counter toss. Like you move one way, but then the line is moving the other way, and it's a backwards toss. And it's not a reverse. It's It's like someone's in the split back. It's something weird. So, but it's amazing when they run it effectively. And it's like, we've got so much talent. Tyree is fast as hell. Styles is fast. That's the kind of stuff that we need to go back to. Like, I don't care if it's on film. It's effective.
Yep. Agreed.
Well, Jason, we're going to jump to, we are stacked on people tonight, but I wanted to get you on, wanted to drop some positivity and some reality on the fan base here and not just be negative tonight. We love Notre Dame. You love Notre Dame. We are super fans and, we will drop stats and data and we will not be happy with the results, but at the same time, and I think you said it better than I ever could, these are 18, 19-year-olds that we're asking to do big things in the big spotlight. And anyone go back to when you were 18, 19, man, I did some dumb stuff. And nowhere did I have the opportunity to do what these young men have. So, Jason, I'll give you the opportunity here and plug. You're going to the Shamrock Series game, right? Oh, might have lost him. A big saguaro cactus is blocking the cell phone tower in Arizona. All right. Well, thank you, Jason, for joining us. But yeah, I'll improv here before we jump over to Wookie, who's been very patient. But Jason over at Dos Leprechauns, whose mic got messed up. But I'm pretty sure he's got some sort of not a tailgate, but like a live show or something in Vegas. Just check him out. Send him a DM. He last time we talked, we chit chat for a while. Great supporter of the university. Between Dos Leprechauns, John at Always Irish, and Mike over at 5 Foot Nothing Pod. My favorite other shows. And the best part is about those guys like myself is we are all fans. We are not credentialed media. We do not write blogs. We have normal jobs. Well, John kind of made this his job over at Always Irish, and respect to him for having the courage to do that. Or maybe he won the lottery. And but respect to him. We are fans. Jason at Dos Leprechauns, him and Nate, they are fans. And you will not find a more passionate group of fans than Dos Leprechauns. So thank you, Jason, for joining us. Wookie, you've been very patient. You've been on since the beginning. Please unmute yourself if you can.
Oh, yes. And I want to take this back to we all were blinded by the players' reaction to Marcus Freeman walking into the locker room. So our expectations were raised. Okay, we're already around number 5. We're going to the championship. We're doing it. I've stated since the beginning, our championship run starts now. Doesn't mean that we're going to win now, but it starts now. And there's 2 key things that we lost these last 2 games over is, number 1, communication. We have a new head coach. We have a new defensive coach. Of course, there's going to be mistakes, but communication was a failure. And then my personal take on the matter for Marshall loss, 100% complete offensive line failure. I don't know what happened, but it was just a complete collapse. Point blank, period. Our quarterback got hurt. Like, that's if your quarterback gets hurt, that's offensive line failure right there, point blank.
Right. Yeah, it's either the pocket collapses too much, or we have to put our quarterback out there because he's the only one being effective moving the football down the field to try to score. And one too many times he gets hit and he gets his shoulder crunched, and that's the kind of shit that happens. And as soon as that happened, and we're at dinner, we're at La Speranza, we're gonna give them another shout out here, but I said, look, Buckner's hurt. And the reason for this is because we can't run the football. If you could run between the tackles, hand it to Estime, and he gets 3-4 yards every flipping time, this shit doesn't happen, right?
And why can't we run the ball? We can't create holes.
And I started having strategy discussions with people, and granted, a lot of this is my personal preference, which is, be under center in an I formation or split back or something to that effect, which I know is very 1970s football. I get it. But my point is, look, if we cannot sustain blocks with our inexperienced or ineffective offensive line, despite the fact that we have Harry Heastan, who we were basically waving with palm branches when he returned to campus, right? I'm glad you got that joke. But my point is like, oh, we got Heastan, like, we're fine. Well, yes and no, because I think, there's a talent thing, and Stanley and the Martins and Nelson and those guys are the gold standard. They're never coming back. And if we could just get someone like that, that's awesome, but they need to develop. They need some time to, marinate here in the system. And it's a new system that Reese is rolling out. And I think that's half the problem is I'm not really sure what Reese is trying to do on offense. I'm not really getting it. Like he's clearly a zone read guy. But it's like, well, is our offensive line good at zone read? Do they have the ability to be effective at zone read? I don't know. All I know is the most effective Notre Dame offensive line I've seen in the last 10 years was in 2017 with Josh Adams running the ball, and that was fucking power running, not zone read. I mean, it kind of was zone read, but with Wimbush in there, it's awesome. But it's like, it was pretty much power football. I mean, it wasn't a, I formation with someone like Bo Bauer at fullback. By the way, where the hell was Bo Bauer this game? I looked at the stat sheet. He only had like 2 tackles the whole damn game.
He did have.
He had one tackle.
Shoulder injury.
He had one tackle, and I like shout out really loud, in the stadium, "Sharp hockey skate," which no one gets, and people just give me weird looks, but that's because those people weren't standing. I don't know. I mean,
he was out of place the whole game.
It was all over the place. I mean, this is where the scotch is starting to take over, and my brain is getting foggy.
I will chime in here on the defense, though, because I know this coach because, well, I am a Bengals fan, and I love Al Golden's defense. There's going to be some growing pains. It's about communication skills, but he is that one defensive head coach that will tell you how it is. Like he said, what do you want me to be happy about? We lost 2 games. Like straight up, point blank, he will tell you what you're not doing and what you should be doing. So he will definitely make this defense better. And I think that since he has been in the NFL, we might have a defensive coach for a long time here.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of talked about that I think in the off season in the spring about Al Golden and what he brings and, how he's attracted to Notre Dame and, he's, getting back to the college, game. And I know Jason talked about this, before, Jason Yeager. So if he wants to jump on. But yeah, I mean, Al Golden is, I don't think he's bad. I think he's just inexperienced. I mean, look, rewind. Last year, Florida State, it should not have been a close game. It was. Cone, of all people, Cone. Is it bad that I miss Jack Cone right now? Does anyone else miss Jack Cone, or am I just drinking too much? I genuinely miss Jack Cone.
I don't.
You don't? Okay. What? Put that on Twitter. Let's put a poll. Can we get a poll going that, like, who misses Jack Cone? Yes or no, right? Today.
I miss Ian Book.
You miss Ian Book. I miss Tony Rice. But anyway, if we really want to go back, Tony Rice, Brady Quinn, come back. Even just Jimmy Clausen, shit.
Should I take Brady Quinn?
Yep, who wouldn't, right? Especially MJV84. She's a fan of Brady Quinn. But anyway, if she's listening, she knows what I'm talking about. It's because she's a Browns fan. But anyway, back to, let's get back on point here. The defense needs to do something better, and they need to generate some damn turnovers. I don't understand why at this point in the season we don't have even 1 turnover. Going into this game, turnover margin right now, Notre Dame is 112th in the country, and we're -3 for the season, the whole season. On the flip side, Cal, our opponent, the dreaded Golden Bears, they're +1 and ranked 40th right now in the country. So that's not good. Not good, Bob. Not good, Bob. All right. Well, Wookie, thank you for joining us tonight. We're gonna jump to some other people here. We're gonna go to someone new here if they so wish to join us at Whining Ben, Irish Ben 10. If you so wish to join us, by all means, please jump on. This is a friendly place. Irish Ben 10. Yeah, you got a dog there. That's cool. If not, no big deal. We're going to head over to Coach Parsegian, a very, very loyal contributor to the show. Coach Parsegian, unless he's eating a snack right now. There's one thing I want to talk about here with Drew Pine while we wait for these other guys to jump on. So there's a guy in front of us during the game. And he, is kind of belligerent and stuff, and that's fine, right? It's Notre Dame. But there's a guy, and it was way before the injury. It was like third quarter, maybe beginning of the fourth. And this dude is shouting, "Put in Pine, put in Pine." And, I wasn't going to get into a shouting match argument, in the stadium. I'm not that kind of person. I don't know this guy. He's clearly not in a bad, he's in a bad state. He's clearly unhappy, right? I want to remind people why I have put all my chips into the Tyler Buckner corner. And the reason for that is going back to why the people who are pro-Pine, and clearly I am pro-Pine now because what other option do I have unless I want to sabotage him and put in Angeli, which I'm not ready to do. Now, Pine throws 3 picks, on Saturday, then yes, we need to put in Angeli. God forbid. But if Drew Pine is going to be coming in, we need to remember of why, quote unquote, we love him. We love him because in the Wisconsin game, he comes in and he threw only one touchdown pass to Kevin Austin. That's why we love Drew Pine. He threw one pass. Wow. That's great. Did you guys watch the spring game? He didn't look that good. In the Wisconsin game, Drew Pine, I had to go back like 5 pages in my notes here. He was 6 of 8 passing. He only threw 81 yards, 1 touchdown with a QBR of 69, which is better than this past game. So, hey, 69 is better than 12. But he goes down and his first possession was a punt, right? And let's not forget that when Notre Dame turned things around that Wisconsin game was not because of Pine. It was because of Tyree's kickoff return. Then we punted, and then Drew Pine comes in. He throws 1 touchdown pass to Kevin Austin, and then the defense had 2 back-to-back pick sixes, and then another, I think Clarence Lewis interception as well was thrown in there, sprinkled in. I probably have that all screwed up. But regardless, Drew Pine's now our quarterback going forward. I think this is a time for him to shine and really step up to the plate. And people like me who have been doubtful of him and whether or not he gives us the best opportunity to win, now I have no choice but to be in the corner of Drew Pine. So that's what I want to say about that. Am I nervous about him coming in? Not really, because I can't really be too nervous about a team that's just so stale right now on offense, right? And it's like, I guess we could always get worse, I think what this does now. Let me do this, and then we're gonna open it up here to some people here. We're gonna just throw a bunch of invites out to some people, and if you guys want to jump on, by all means. I know I sound intimidating and very knowledgeable, but I genuinely want to hear what other people have to say, including Coach Parsegian, who's still on mute, or Jason Yeager, who says you're a speaker but not muted. Weird.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, please, Jason, jump in. You can interrupt me anytime you want.
All right, cool. So you kind of the reason I like Pine. Who is the leader on this team? Who is the person that's going to be outspoken on this team? Who has some life to them? I have not seen one player on the field, on the sideline after bad plays or after something happens, getting up and going. I've seen no excitement when a good play goes. You don't see that. We had that last year with certain people. You have Williams that did it. You have other players that kind of stood out. But this year, there is nobody. You have no outspoken leader. At least Pine has that swagger.
Yep.
And
one of the greatest gifts of Notre Dame on Twitter right now.
But that's it. We have no leader. There's no leader on the field. Not one person is noticeable leading. And that's, I think, the biggest thing where it shows where defense has been out of position. They don't hold the edges. They don't. Where's Fauski going? Hey, what are you doing? Or where's Joseph coming up saying, hey, what's going on? It's nothing. You see none of that other than arguing when they both had a miscommunication on that touchdown pass. That was it. That was the only life you saw in 2 games. Even against Ohio State, they were running around and stuff, but you never saw somebody step up and kind of be that leader. And I think that's the biggest thing is our biggest leader, our biggest hype person is the coach. And you can't have the head coach being the biggest leader because he's not in the field doing anything.
Which is so funny because that's like the complete antithesis of Kelly. And Kelly was like the business trip.
Yes.
I don't know if anyone saw that on Twitter. I'm tweeting like, did anyone remind the offense that this is not a business trip? I got a few likes, but you're 100% right. Yeah, like everyone's looking for Marcus Freeman to, rah the troops, and you got to do that. Don't get me wrong, but look, once that ball is snapped and hiked and the ball is kicked off, it's like, it's up to the players at that point, right? They're the ones on the field. They're the ones that are going to get shit done.
100%. And that's what I've not seen any type of, when they looked flat-footed, nothing going on, just kind of going through the motions against Marshall, how it started off. And there was nobody out there, for lack of a better word, being a cheerleader, getting guys hyped up, going around, smacking them upside the head, saying, let's go. There was nobody. And I didn't get to go to the game, so I was watching from home. And
are you going to the game this weekend?
I might be. It's my son's birthday on Saturday, so we're trying to make it work.
Nice.
So that was my big thing there. Buckner, he doesn't trust his offensive line, and you can tell because both interceptions were thrown 10 minutes late on 2 hitch routes. And you could tell that he's looking down and waiting for the receiver to turn around, set, and look because he's watching the line too long. So I wanted to blame Buckner, but then rewatching the game, you could see him looking at the line and looking to see who's coming at him before he threw the ball. So he should have been throwing it on their break, and he's throwing it after they turn around, and the cornerback can say, "Oh, cool," and then go get it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And then the only other thing for me is Tyree. Who did he beat up? What dog did he smack? Why is he not playing ever?
I don't know the answer to that. And my biggest problem with, he's probably literally the fastest guy on the field, other than maybe Braden Lindsay, but I got a lot of shit on Twitter for this, but I still stand by this. The ball hit him in the hand 3 times. And I'm not trying to beat up on the guy, but it's like, look, I played wide receiver in high school. I realize I'm not playing at Notre Dame, and this guy is way more talented and faster than me, and he's playing fine. My point is this. It hit him in the hands. I don't care if you're laying out. I don't care. These are excuses. When I hear people saying someone had a hand on him, or Buckner overthrew the ball. I would rather Buckner overthrow the ball than underthrow it to any of our wide receivers. Okay? You need to run your ass off. If Lindsay is this great fast track dude, he needs to run out there and catch the darn ball. Just catch it. If it hits you in the hands, You should have caught it. And that's my stance. I'm not going to, sugarcoat this. I'm not going to make excuses for a guy who's been in the program this long. If this was Tobias Merriweather, a true freshman out there a couple times, maybe, because he's basically, a pubic hair out of high school. Okay. And that's not to be rude. That's just to make a point. Lindsey has been there for how many freaking years? And we're still waiting for him to show up. And look, I don't throw players under the bus. I don't want to do that. I'm not saying that to be negative to him. I want him to be successful. Okay? And I know he knows that he needs to catch the ball. So I'm not going to be unfair or unkind or anything like that to him. But as a fan, I'm very frustrated. And I'm very happy that we at least attempted to go downfield in this game. So if I'm going to give Reese any credit, at least he was trying to throw the ball downfield. Our guys didn't catch it, or Buckner doesn't have the touch, and, use any reason, excuse, whatever you want. But it hit Lindsey in the hands.
You want the starting wide receiver 1 designation? You go take it. You prove it.
Are you X or not, right?
Yeah. If you get the chance to catch the ball, you catch the ball. Why? Because you want that. You're a receiver.
That's your job.
I don't know.
If you play X, that's your job.
You and I both know you want the ball. And, the mentality of wide receivers in college and at the pros being divas, no, that's the mentality you have. You go out, you take it. You expect the ball. Every single play, you expect it coming to you. You're pissed off when you don't get it because when you get it, it's a catch. It's that Rod Tidwell. Throw the ball.
Jerry Maguire. I was just thinking about Jerry Maguire.
That's literally the mentality that every wide receiver 1 has. I want the ball in clutch time. I want you to overthrow me because I'm going to get underneath it and I'm going to make a play. That's the mentality that does not exist in the wide receiver room right now, and that's what's suffering.
Yeah, it's pretty bad right now. And again, we don't want to be negative. We don't want people, breaking the second commandment and taking the Lord's name in vain here. We're okay with F-bombs here and there. And constructive criticism. That's the intent tonight, is constructive criticism. What do we have to do going into this ball game? Coach Parsegian, you're a 2-time national champion. Can you provide some insight?
Well, I'll start off with this. You're a stats guy. So, without Googling it, tell me what first-year Notre Dame head coach has the best record in their first year, and what year was that? Do you know?
First year, first head coach?
First year Notre Dame head coach.
Charlie Weiss.
First year as Notre Dame coach. Who has the best record and what year was it?
Charlie Weiss, 2005.
No.
All right. Look, that's all I got. So I'm not going to Google it. I'm going to follow the rules. I'll play along. Stunt the host.
Me.
I like this. You!
1964, 9-1. 900 win percentage.
9-1. Okay. Can I Google it now?
You can Google it now.
I mean, I don't want to disprove you here. Damn it. I should have known that. Why would Coach Parsegian not be doing that? So, damn it. I said Charlie Weiss. Are you going to make fun of me on Twitter for that? For saying Charlie Weiss and not you?
No, you would think it would be Charlie Weiss, but it wasn't.
I mean, and that's where my brain is, right? Because that season was like, Weiss, and we had all this swag, and we have Samardzija, embarrassing Purdue and whatever. So,
as Boob Davy said, putting on a clinic. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I listened to John's podcast from Always Irish today, and
9-1.
I really loved his Scott Frost analogy.
I've heard of this. I haven't actually deep dive. I haven't listened to it yet. I worked from home today. So
Scott Frost is gone at Nebraska.
yes, correct.
And he made the argument that Nick Saban could take somebody like Scott Frost and turn him into a national champion as an offensive coordinator. Or if Scott Frost was a defensive-minded guy, he could do him that way with a defensive coordinator. Freeman is just as capable of doing the same thing because look at Al Golden. He was at Miami, became a nobody, became a big name through the NFL, and now he's an even bigger name in college again. Reese has got to go. Reese has got to go. He cannot make adjustments. Obviously, what he's trying to do is not working. He cannot.
I think the struggle is I don't know what he's trying to do, right?
Exactly. He can't even try to structure the offense to where it does work with just letting Buckner focus on Mayer and run the ball. He can't even design an offense to do that. He has not developed what little wide receivers we have. He has not developed the quarterbacks, and he's had over a year to do this, even with the restrictions he had under Kelly. When Kelly was gone, he's had plenty of time to do this, and he's not been able to do it.
And that has been my criticism of Reese ever since he was hired on the staff in 2017. He didn't develop Wimbush. Book actually showed regression as time went on, and yes, there's an element with the receivers, but regardless, you would think he would do better, and he didn't, right? And then, Cone is Cone, like he's kind of set in his ways, and then now here we are with Buckner, and like I kind of like take issue with him as the quarterback coach. Like maybe the offensive coordinator, fine. I'm kind of curious, but I just don't see where we're going. But I think 5 Foot Nothing Pod, who has joined us, wants to say something.
Are we doing this? Let's go. Are we doing this? Because
and 5 Foot Nothing, you'll agree with me. Everybody pause. Judge hit number 57. All right.
I know he did. I saw it live. That was tremendous. Where I had dinner was showing the Yankees Red Sox. Hey Jimmy, I see you're listening. Fuck the Red Sox. Sorry. We can drop F-bombs, right? You said that was okay?
Yeah, F-bombs are fine. Don't break don't break any commandments.
Okay, heard. Well, fuck the Red Sox. Go Jimmy. Okay. The Reese thing.
I didn't know Jimmy liked the Red Sox. Okay.
I got enough of you that probably listen to my show. Tommy Reese plays bingo up in the booth. He has to. That's the only logical explanation for what we see on Saturdays. The two best plays this dude has run all season, one was a fake pitch to Tyree, and you're sending Mayer out left and left the middle of the field wide open for Kevin Bauman. The second best play was last week against Marshall. You put Buckner on the move. Nobody was in the middle of the field for Bauman because they went with Buckner because he can run. When you have a quarterback like Buckner, I know this is a kind of irrelevant now that he's hurt, but when you have a quarterback of that skill set, make the defense make a decision. You roll Buckner out. Ohio State did that. We sacked C.J. Stroud once. You know why we never sacked him again? Because Ohio State and Ryan Day and whoever was running their offense said, hey, let's put C.J. Stroud on the move and make Notre Dame make a decision.
Yep.
And C.J. Stroud is the Heisman Trophy winner. Or not Heisman Trophy winner, Heisman Trophy candidate, and we saw why. Because he can throw on the run and all that good stuff, right? Well,
which is irritating because I really think Buckner could do that if we had our fucking receivers that were not just running straight down the field, stride for stride with the damn. Like, I gotta jump in here. So I was at the game, right? And so many times, like, I'm trying to like take a wider perspective and not just watch the quarterback with the football. I'm like, look, it's a down and distance, long kind of your typical passing situation, and I'm watching just our receivers and what kind of routes they're doing, and they're just running with the defensive backs. It's like, no wonder he's not throwing it, because he doesn't want to get picked off. And the one time he makes a boneheaded decision, he gets picked off.
So two things to that. Just to finish my thought, like, get him on the move, that is a literal run pass option. For the defense, like, hey, is Buckner going to tuck this and run it, or is he going to throw it? It just opens up so many things. But to your last point, I listened to, and everybody's got their own opinion on Brian Driscoll. Whatever. I listened to his.
His show is more popular than ours.
Fair. Point. That is an excellent point.
But he's also that's like his job, right? Like you do what you do, I do what I do, right? And
we're having fun. That's why we can say the things we say.
No, this is serious. What are you talking about? Okay.
But
serious. Hey, Brian Driscoll does not drink scotch on his show. All right.
That's I got a Rolling Rock sit. I already had a couple beers at dinner. I got a Rolling Rock sit. We're good, dude. I'll tell you what. But so Brian Driscoll gets all 22, and make sure everybody understands what the all 20. That's basically the camera view from the end zone. You can see every player on the field through the entire play. He noticed something, and this is especially for anyone who's played a high school level, or in my case, college level of football. As a receiver especially, he noticed that knew they were the backside of the route and probably not getting the football, took plays off. They were jogging their routes. They were not even and if you're the defender, like, oh shit, the receiver's not even paying attention. Where's the ball going? I'm going to focus my attention there. And trust me, I know. That was one thing I was like, especially in college. Hey, I don't care what part you're the 1, 2, 3 option, backside, whatever. Run your route like you're getting the fucking ball.
You're gonna get the ball.
Because
I didn't know that.
You're gonna pick up on that, and guess what? That makes it so much easier to play defense. If they see that, especially if they see it on film, going into next week, say Cal. If Cal's like, hey, check it out. Watch Lindsey on this route. It was Styles the whole way. Lindsey half-assed it, or Jaden Thomas or whatever. Dude, that's a problem.
Wow.
Because that's free effort. Like you said earlier, I was listening. Effort and hustle is free. You don't have to catch a ball. You don't just hustling and going 100% requires no skill set whatsoever.
Well, and if that is the case, and I didn't know this, if this is a so wait, back to bus up. Brian Driscoll has a special camera and he's on the field. What's the deal?
There's a
I don't listen to his show, but
yeah. And
it's not because anything personal. I just have so many hours of eyeball time.
But I had seen some of the stuff he put on Twitter, and I was curious, so I checked out his pod. But no, so the All 22, I think every team has it, and there's a site you have to pay for it and buy it.
Oh,
like you can get the All 22 for any team in the country. I think you have to pay for it, though.
It's all those super chats he's been getting on his show, but that's fine.
Well, yeah, because there's stuff we can't see. I don't care how many times you watch NBC's version of Notre Dame game. There's stuff you're just not going to see.
Right.
Fact. So yeah, they're following the football, and when you all 22, you can follow any player on the field regardless of where the ball is. And notice that we had receivers literally taking plays off, and it was obvious because they were not getting the football on that particular play, or they were like the third or fourth option, and unlikely to get the football. But going back to the bigger point, Tommy Rees, his biggest problem, forget my bingo jokes, forget all that stuff. His biggest problem is there are obvious strengths with our personnel, and he is, for whatever reason, determined to run a specific offense regardless of what. That'd be like having 9 Aaron Judges going, we're going to play small ball. Well, that's not going to work. That's not what your lineup, or in our case, that's not what your roster says you should be doing. He's determined to run the football and have this, run first, pass second. Well, guess what? If your offensive line can't it doesn't really matter what you wanted. How about what your players can do and go from there? And that's where it all falls into this bingo joke that I make. It's because he's trying to do something because it fits a certain box and it checks off a certain thing that he wants to do. Well, guess what? I don't care what you want to do. Do what works.
Yeah, what can you do? Right. And
it didn't matter how much he tried to run the ball Saturday. He was running it directly into a brick wall every single time.
Exactly.
Well, and I said to some of the guys at dinner, after the game, and for anyone who came on a little later, I had a little monologue at the beginning where everyone else is taking shots of makers in the parking lot, and here I have to drive us 3 hours home, so I couldn't responsibly do that, so I didn't. But like I'm making comments to the guys, in hindsight, and yes, this is my preference, but I'm like, look, if we are struggling against Marshall, at least maybe our guys, when they don't false start, do know the snap count. So at least if you are in under center, I formation, I don't care, but not in shotgun, not doing zone read. If you at least are under center, you have timing and, that split second edge to your advantage where our guys can at least push somebody out of the way, create a small hole, and in that fraction of a second, when you hand it off to Estime, Tyree, I don't care who it is, they can get through the hole and maybe greatness happens. But right now, look, and I said this beginning, and I'll say this again, something dramatically different needs to change on the offense. There is nothing going on, and our most productive guy is now having, had a surgery today.
Well, that's my point, Joe. That's my point. The 3rd and 3 followed by the 4th and 1 that got nothing makes first we okay. Let's just forget the fact that we should have been able to push Marshall's defensive line. Exclude that. The fact of the matter is, in 3rd and 3 and 4th and 1, both situations, I'm yelling at my television, why are we not running a read option? Why are we not running a read option? Because those were free yards. Tyler Buckner either gives it or keeps it, and those are free yards that we were going to get. But no, we had to line up and prove that we can't move their defensive line 3 yards. Twice we had to prove that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like, you have a commodity in the backfield with your quarterback, combined with a running back, making the defense make a choice. It was weird. And the brick wall point, last time I checked, Chris Tyree's fast as shit. I think he can avoid the brick wall, but no, he's got 11 touches through 2 games because that. I'll put myself on mute for a second.
The one thing that I love about that is when you have that read option, you also now open up a bigger set of plays with a boot, because you can run the threat of a read option and you're running a naked boot. You can have the offside guard or tackle pull to hit that kick block. And now all of a sudden you've got first level, second level crossers because your near side receiver has just cleared everyone out. That absolutely opens the playbook to that. And to not play to that personnel, to not utilize Buckner's strength, which is, he legit is a personification of a run-pass option.
Right.
And that was absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, and we treated it just got to the point in the game where we're just going to treat Tyler Buckner like Wildcat. And granted, at the time of the game, as much as I don't like doing that, it's like, look, this is our only option right now. And, magically nothing different is going to change here in the 4th quarter when we're down and Marshall is up and there's 7 minutes left in the game, right? This is the kind of stuff that we're just going to have to do. Well, hey, 5'0" and everyone else went on mute here. We've invited a new person to speak, Weston Salyer Weston, at Salyer Weston. You've been invited to speak. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show. If you so wish, you wanted to speak. Oh, got scared off. I don't know what's going on here. Coach Barsegian, anything else? Or you there?
I was gonna say, I want to hear from Jimmy. I see he's listed as a speaker. So
he's listening. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. There's Weston.
Wait, hold on. Let's go to Weston.
But it doesn't matter.
Nope. Speak. Speak.
Okay.
Introduce yourself. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
Hello. Sorry, I'm driving home, so
Please be safe.
If you hear anything, that's why.
I don't want to be in your insurance claim.
No. I'm Weston, Notre Dame fan. Been all my life, sadly, happily, whichever way.
No, wear that shit with pride.
Oh, I'm proud of it. Just not proud of the team always, but it's all good. So I was at the game Saturday.
I'm sorry.
And I can't. Yeah, I know. I mean, it was still a good experience. Just sucks that we lost, obviously, but it's fine. But someone had commented earlier about our receivers not looking like they wanted to be in the game. Well, most of them. And I was gonna figure that Buckner is trying to put you on that pick six. And I think it looked like Thomas, if he actually tried, could have broken up that pass at the very least, if not caught that.
Yeah, that play was broken. I think from the beginning. The pick six. I do not think Buckner has, of all the plays I have watched, other than his injury, to understand what happened just as we go forward, because that's a pretty big deal. You're starting quarterback who I gave a shit ton of praise and playing fucking epic music on this show. And Weston, thank you for jumping on. By all means, we're not kicking you off. You can stick around as long as you want. But we got a ton of people that are still with us. This is great. Irishman, Jimmy Gallagher, who I've been begging to jump on. Tyrish, probably the best Twitter handle I have seen in forever. Tyrish. Man, if you want to jump on, I'll just give you a high five and you'll be like the second toast of the night. But anyway, that's dope. I told the doc that tonight, and she was like, "That's an awesome Twitter handle." And she's not even on Twitter, but she lives with me, so she knows what's going on. But Weston, back to your point about this broken play, the play that never should have happened, but it did, and here we are. But yeah, I mean, he threw the pass, right? I think it was a terrible decision, but again, as soon as it happened, I'm like, I'm not surprised this happened. We have no other option, and we're trying. Like, Buckner can't run every play. He cannot run to the outside every play, right?
No, but I hate to interrupt you, Joe, but you said it's okay, so I'm going to do it.
It's too late. You already have.
I know. That's how that works. So here's the thing about that play. Number one, if he looks literally straight down the field, he will see Michael Mayer
correct
about 5 degrees to the right. But secondarily, that play, if you froze it, if it was like the 1920s and you went frame by frame, you would see that when Tyler Buckner released the ball, Jaden Thomas was actually in front of the defender. Jaden Thomas got moved by the defender and then effectively gave up. It goes back to effort. There is no reason. I think that's where Weston was going, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason it should have been. It should have been an incomplete pass. Is kind of the end of the play. It wasn't going to be a completion, but the pick six was not so much on Tyler Buckner as it was Jaden Thomas for giving up his spot. It's like boxing out in basketball, similar concept, and he just gave it up.
And to be fair, their cornerbacks are very good.
They don't suck. Absolutely.
I mean, not excuse. No excuses for losing to Marshall at all. But the one's Stephon Gilmore's brother, Stephen Gilmore. I think he's going to be NFL, and I don't know what the other one really. But
the other one's Donnie Abraham's son, who was an All-Pro with the Buccaneers. And last time I checked, those aren't those guys, and they're at Marshall for a reason, right? Like.
That's true, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be NFL guys at some point, even on practice squad. But again, no excuse. But
I didn't watch a single NFL game on Sunday. I'm just the other day,
like, because it's Stephon Gilmore's brother and Donnie Abraham's son. Well, by default, their family tree says they're good at football. Well, if they were so good at football, why the hell are they at freaking Marshall? Like Stephon.
Hey, a team that has a 1-0 record now against University of Notre Dame, I'll tell you that. So, and a team that's undefeated right now, and Notre Dame isn't even sniffing that. So,
that's facts.
Yeah, right. Take that for statistics. Yeah. The easiest. Those are the cherry pick statistics of the night.
Moss did he go to Marshall?
Moss did.
I don't know their situation.
So did Kane Madden.
Well, yeah, that pissed me off too. We owed Marshall an ass beating for them telling us that Kane Madden was an All-American. That in itself earned them an ass kicking, and we still live. But yeah, Randy Moss should have been wearing a gold helmet back in 1990, whatever, 5.
Yeah, but he couldn't fucking keep himself together.
Well, see, when the Randy Moss stuff gets brought up, they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Here's the deal. Florida State said no, thank you. So what does that tell you?"
It was all off the field stuff.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, 100%. That's why he ended up at home at Marshall, and lit up the freaking scoreboard every single game he played. Yeah, that's a fun fact. The kid played in 27 college games. He scored in every single one of them. Like, as a receiver.
So he's extremely fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Marshall's claim to fame. They had Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich, and Randy Moss.
Well, there's
And none of those
another
guys
reason.
played
There's
Saturday
another
because we're-
reason why they're famous, but maybe we shouldn't talk about that. It's kind of fucked up.
That's the wrong kind of famous.
I know, but I mean, you just said why they're
What they do,
famous.
I don't
I'm
know
just like,
about it.
well,
Okay, that would make them infamous.
the
Yeah,
the
for
in
infamous.
the infamous, the
Is that
infamous.
are we I thought it was infamous, but we could say infamous.
You guys don't
But-
get it. Reds never knows exactly what I'm talking about. And some of you people who are savvy with comedies in the 80s are just like nodding slowly, while listening to this.
Bro. I got you.
Wookiees there, right? Steve Martin, right? Yeah, exactly. So,
Oh hell yeah!
yeah, my little buttercup. All right. Um,
On the field purposes, Randy Moss, Byron Leftwich, Chad Pennington, by the way, did not play Saturday, and Marshall kicked our ass.
Yep.
So
word. Let's go to Weston here, and then let's jump over to ND Fanatics, who's been very patient. Weston, what? Am I getting that right? Weston.
Weston.
I want to
That
say
sounds like a
Slayer.
guy, but-
When I see your last name here, I want to say
Slayer, yeah.
Slayer, just because that looks so
Yeah,
dope.
he-
Threw you a follow here at Sailor Weston. I want to say Slayer. Can we call you Slayer, or is that offensive?
It's Salyer, but you can call me Slayer. That's fine. I don't care. I answer.
If you don't care, then I'm gonna call you Slayer. All right, Slayer.
Slayer.
But it's Salyer if you're looking for him on Twitter. What does Notre Dame need to do to be successful against Cal?
To be honest, I would say we should just easily be able to kick their ass. But I mean, we saw what Marshall went, so I that's a tough question. I mean, it shouldn't be a tough question, but with the way we've been playing, it's a tough question.
That's where we're at right now.
Offensive line, I think they're still going to figure it out with he stand or high stand. He stand, right?
He stand.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think he's gonna figure it out. The regiment they had before did not teach them well at all. And so I think it's gonna take still. I mean, I know they had the off season with him, but I'm not sure exactly about this year how the line's gonna end up. But I think next year and the year after that, if Harry's actually wants to be at Notre Dame and coach him up a lot better, I think they're gonna improve this year. Even I'm hoping. But I think the line needs to be better. I want to say our wide receivers need to be better, but I don't know if. I think we have the skill at wide receiver with Styles. Lindsey had really good releases. A few really good releases against Marshall. That one should have been a touchdown, but if Buckner didn't overthrow him. And our play. I think Reese, deservingly so, gets a lot of slander, but I don't think it's all on him. I think if that pass to Lindsey and that pass to Styles are caught for touchdowns, I don't know if the Styles one probably wouldn't have been a touchdown because the defenders are kind of right there, but he definitely should have caught that still.
But here's the problem, Weston. We're using phrases, and you're not wrong, but those statements should be made against a team that's not Marshall. Like,
oh yeah, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the takeaway
That's
for
the
me.
sad thing.
Yeah, we're saying things like, "Oh man, if only this, if only that." Man, really needed that break or this break. We had to go for two twice and kick a kick. We had to do that.
Yeah, no, we shouldn't have to do that against Marshall. That's what I'm saying. That's why I stated about Cal. Like, we shouldn't be talking about this. We should just be going out and kicking their ass because it's fucking Cal. But that's not where we're at with this program right now.
No, and you're fair. Like, the Tommy Rees slander is maybe over the top in some cases, but we've already talked about it. That's fine. I realize the personnel can't do certain things, but they can do some things, and you're actively choosing not to do the things that they can do.
Oh yeah,
Damn that.
that's what I was saying. Some of it is deserving, for sure. But like, I don't know why on that 3rd and 2 and the 4th and 1 was it? Or 4th and 2, 4th and 1.
Third and
4th and 1.
4th and 1. Yep.
Yeah, 4th and 1. Why he didn't have Buckner in the shotgun, like you were saying with the option. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. I don't know why you'd have him under center where you totally take away everything that he's good at.
Well, there's so many factors in that. Number one, you got to get the ball, then you have to retreat to meet the running back
in the back. Yeah,
just the whole process just takes longer. I mean, even if he's 5 yards deep in the shotgun, that snap is faster than him getting the ball from under the center, then retreating 3 steps. The ball's already. It's just.
I mean.
All good points. All good points, guys. I mean, we can keep deep diving into this all night. You know,
there's no reason why we're not getting with. Is he like something? Is he 220, 230? Is he that big? Or is he 210? I don't know. He's huge. Whatever. I know he's big. There's no reason that big of a human being, with the line that we're supposed to have with Patterson.
Yep.
And all the other.
That's what we started the show with. We were comparing
up front that we're not getting a fucking yard. There's
yeah.
no excuse. I mean, it blows my mind away that we can't get a
Weston, I'm going to give you a homework assignment here, and then we're going to jump over to ND Fanatics. We are stacked on people. There's a bunch of people we still want to get to, and we want to try to get everybody that wants to speak if they want. And I'm not trying to kick you off, but we're just trying to. We're almost 2 hours in here. Homework assignment. Because we like talking about stats and data, I am very curious from a recruiting ranking style. Our front 5 offensive linemen versus Marshall's front 3, front 4, whatever they run. What was our recruiting ranking versus theirs? Like individually as like linemen, right? In their class, right? Were they a 4-star? Were they a 5-star? Were they the number 80th, offensive tackle in the country? That kind of shit. I guarantee you go through there, you go through the data. I haven't done this. I wanted to do this, but we just ran out of time. Nope, I didn't make time. But that's the kind of stuff we're at. So,
real quick, Joe, I'll give you a head start.
Here it comes.
Marshall's last 4 recruiting classes, average ranking was 82nd overall. Not just their.
Oh yeah. We started the show with that. Marshall is their average recruiting. Oh, I'm on the wrong page of my spreadsheet. Damn it, Jim. I'm a podcaster, not a physicist. Or actually not a statistician. I'd have this. Where is this? Well, they were last 4 years per 24/7, 86th in the country. 4 years average. So,
and one year they were 120 out of 130.
Yeah, I've got, yes. Let's see here. 72, 95, 120, 57. I probably have the sequence wrong there, but it doesn't matter. The math still works out to average of 86 versus West Notre Dame. Slayer, do you know?
What were we, 11, 12?
I want to hear from Slayer.
Okay.
Oh, he's jumped off here. Somehow he got disconnected. So, well, hey, Slayer, thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is great. Thank you for joining us. And we will talk to you again later. All right, let's jump over to ND Fanatics. He's been very, very, very patient. Thank you for joining us. ND Fanatics, please unmute yourself.
Evening, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Hey, maybe you have the statistics.
So I do not have that statistic. I wasn't.
But you usually impress me with statistics every time you jump on here. So I'll just shut up unless you go.
But I got some stuff. So
of course you do.
I think coming into this season, we were excited. We thought, in terms of the personnel, particularly on defense, and I'd say for the most part, the defense has been, fairly good. But offense, we had a guy that had been moved from a wide receiver to the secondary and then back to wide receiver. And we really didn't have any depth there. And now we're seeing that, okay, they know, other teams know that we're not, as you talked about earlier, they're jogging the routes. They're just not top flight wide receivers. So let's just stack the box and we're going to stop the run, and Notre Dame's not going to have any offense. So that's what we're seeing now. And for a lot of LSU fans have been barking because they beat Georgia Southern or something. And I'm just like, guys, like, no, nobody cares. I think right now the big thing is, like, I'm not out on Marcus Freeman. I mean, Tyron Willingham won his first 8 games his first season at Notre Dame.
Yep.
8 straight. Like, everybody's like, Notre Dame's back. I have the Sports Illustrated return to glory.
Which is the best Notre Dame the shirt of all time is the Return of Glory shirt. That is the best Notre Dame shirt. They should just roll that out, every year. They won't, but like no other shirt has come close. Which I wish I owned, but anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to derail you there.
No, you're fine, man. It's your show. And then
no, it's your show right now. You're the speaker.
Stop.
I'm gonna mute my mic. Go.
And then Charlie Weiss started out 2-0. Beat Pitt, beat Michigan, back-to-back ranked teams. Number 23 Pitt, number 3 Michigan. Like a top 3 win on the road. Charlie Weiss, that was his second game. So those 2 coaches, it started out great. But we know how it ended. So I think, again, for everyone to, like, not everybody, but I feel like there's like 40 to 50% of the fan base that's like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Relax. It's a transitional period. This season might be rough, but that's what happens. Like any corporation per se or company, when there's new ownership, you got to ruffle some feathers and some things don't start out smoothly sometimes.
Yep.
And I would just lastly say Brian Kelly, as we all know, was poor at recruiting the quarterback position, was poor at recruiting the wide receiver position, and that's where the deficiencies lie right now. It's not a Marcus Freeman thing.
I mean, like with Kelly, I do agree with you on the receiver thing. I mean, and he had good receivers. I mean, other than Chase Claypool, which is probably the last, quote unquote, great receiver we had on this offense that I can name off the top of my head. I mean, there was a Will Fuller in there. Corey Robinson was in there before he decided to just, be an announcer for NBC and work on his career, which is probably good for his, his brain and his body and his wallet. Right. And that's not a criticism, I mean, that's just kind of the mentality of the player that's at Notre Dame, right? And in a way, that's almost like a bad thing, just because it's like, we don't have the crazy go nuts guy that's selling out for football glory, right? But we've got some smart guys, you got some good guys that are in there, and every now and then you get the guys with the screw loose. One of my favorite players of all time for Notre Dame, he probably makes the top list of the top 10, is Joe Schmidt. Joe Schmidt was a walk-on. He went to Red Snappers High School. But that dude, like, just embraced his role and just was fearless. He probably wasn't the best guy. But in 2015 and even 2014, this, like, I don't want to say scrawny white guy, but this, probably undersized white guy, but with like the heart of a lion and just with the crazy eyes and doing Trick Shot Monday. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just YouTube Notre Dame Trick Shot Monday. You'll see all sorts of funny, crazy shit, which I totally loved. But that's the kind of stuff.
You did there with the lion. I like what you did there.
I didn't even mean to do that, but that just kind of worked, But it's true, right? Joe Schmidt was a leader for 2014 and 2015. And with his departure, along with, Jalen Smith, in 2016, it was no surprise how awful our defense was in 2016 under Brian Van Gorder. Statistically, the worst defense Notre Dame's ever seen. And that's not to like put rubbing balm or Vicks vapor rub on us, with this loss to Marshall at home. That's not what I'm trying to do here. My point is, we need leadership. Jason Yeager was on here and he said something that I didn't even think of, and so total props to @JYeager9 on the Twitter. He was saying, who's the leader on the field? Who's the coach on the field? Who's the guy that's getting in your face? When I was a student at Notre Dame, Jimmy Clausen was that leader, and he would literally grab people by the face mask and get in their face. I'm not saying we necessarily need to do that, but what I will say is you need leadership. You need it to also be an extension of the coaching staff. And if some receivers just lazing his ass and rounding off his route and not giving two shits, damn it, that has an effect on the rest of the team. And when your number is called, what does that say about your work ethic, that you're not contributing and you're not going to do the unspoken, unglorified, non-sexy things, which is just run a route just to take a cornerback away from the rest of the play. Anyway.
I'm going to chime in real quick. This was the last point I wanted to make before my Wi-Fi crapped out.
Uh-oh.
You talking about leadership. There was a tweet floating around after the game about Jarrett Patterson. You've probably seen it because I tweeted about it, where he slammed his helmet into the ground and just wanted to jet out and be gone after the Marshall game. It sucks that it had to happen after the game and he didn't block for crap for most of the game. But the fact that he realized how they screwed up and he realized how embarrassing this loss was because he showed it. I want every player, offense, defense, starters to fifth string, to have that mentality after a loss like that.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing for me that the rest of the team wasn't just as frustrated. You lose to Marshall like that, to heck with the alma mater.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the alma mater, I think is up there in kind of the ether, and you do need to have pride for what you're doing, and there is, again, I don't want to have this loser, win or lose, we love our Notre Dame. That's not what I'm trying to say, but again, I have a different opinion just because I have a degree from that place, but you're not wrong, Coach, when you say like, you're pissed and you just want to get out of there.
It's because we love Notre Dame that we hate to see this type of situation.
Yeah, like I think the university and what we do is bigger than just this one game, right? And that's why I say don't just storm off the field and not do the alma mater. Like there's a reason for that, why you do that, and is it rah awesome? No, but that's why you do it at the end of the game, not before the game. So
my memory is a little off, but when did that? Was that not a Weiss era?
That's a Weiss thing that was started during the Weiss years.
Okay, that's what I thought. So it's not a new.
No.
But it's not old at the same
It's
time.
new in the historical context of Notre Dame football, right? When you were a coach, right? And even, back to Newt Rockne and all that. But relatively, to all of Notre Dame, it is new. But within, over the last, almost 20 years, we've been doing it. So.
Okay, because I want to say it developed from the whole 2005 respect for Navy and all that stuff.
Yeah, that may be the case. I don't know when, I was not a student at Notre Dame in the early days of Weiss. I just know that was a thing that we were doing when I showed up in the last 2 years of Weiss, which is really funny because that, like, Weiss is fired, Kelly is hired, but at that point, like, I not only graduate, but I get married and like I'm no longer a student. I'm like a working professional. And it's so like multiple things in my life changed in addition to this massive change in Notre Dame football going from Weiss to Kelly, which was a huge step up, right? So we will give a little respect to Kelly for that. But at the same time, it's like,
Well, at least you got to see the bowl losing streak in. So
that was he got fired after the Pittsburgh game in Pittsburgh. I was there. Golden Tate, Jimmy Clausen. That was his final game. I remember that.
Well, I remember with Weiss, it was after the Syracuse game that was god awful, and we did not go to a bowl game that year.
Was it not just humiliating and eye rolling to do the W every time?
That's interesting. This is not really X's and O's, but so Notre Dame is still doing the 1812 overture, and I have no problem with tradition, but here's the deal.
What are the hand signals?
Exactly. All right. When Lou Holtz was there, you made an L for Lou. When Weiss and Willingham was there, you made a W. I don't know what they did for Bob Davie. And then for Brian Kelly, they did this weird thing with like your middle finger, your index finger, and your thumb with both hands. And so like if you like squint your eyes, it kind of looks like a B and a K. What the fuck do we do for Marcus Freeman? Like I know sign language. I can do the alphabet in sign language, but I'm pretty sure we don't do an M and an F with one hand in sign language and do that. I genuinely don't know what to do.
The Bob Davie thing was like an OK, but you make a lowercase b and a lowercase d. You basically put your thumb and index finger together, and that's the B. Bob
really?
Davie. Yes.
Okay.
I was there.
Well, with Freeman, you could probably do the number 2 with each hand and just point your hands down. Makes an M.
Yeah, but the number 2, it looks too much like USC and fight on bullshit.
Well, you spread your fingers out, brother.
All right. I don't know.
If I have to take a picture and send it to you.
That's
please
said.
do. What?
How do you? What? Couldn't you like put your hands together, like make an F?
Wookie, wow, man, I love that.
We'll just let the Notre Dame students come back to it.
I couldn't pass that up.
Oh my gosh.
We're not talking index finger and pinky there, The shocker.
Oh my gosh. What kind of, this is kind of a family show, guys, I know it wasn't in the rules, right? But you guys are now just like going off on a different direction here.
Hey, real quick, the Jared Patterson thing. I love that he was that mad and this and that, but where was that? You could argue that's somewhat of leadership, but where was that in the midst of all of it? Why afterwards are we throwing fits? Why afterwards are we showing our displeasure and our anger and all that? But when it was happening, now granted, we're not seeing everything that's happening on the sidelines, obviously, but it just felt like a little late for that reaction, buddy. Why?
I mean, I'm not Jarrett Patterson, so I mean, I've been pissed after a loss, right? And I mean, maybe at that point it's like, and maybe it's the thing like, well, we're still technically in it, right? We're not officially out, like mathematically, and with the amount of time on the clock and this, that, and the other, maybe there's a chance, if the special teams come out. By the way, and I haven't gotten to this yet, and I want to jump to this since you talked about this. Well, I talked about it, but you kind of made me synthesize it. Special teams. I think of all groups on this team, which is ironic because special teams has been dog shit the last few years, the toast of the night is to Brian Mason and to special teams. Because on multiple occasions we flipped the field. John Sott had a long punt of 61 yards in the second quarter. We flipped the field down to the Marshall 6. Unfortunately, prior to their last touchdown, but that's on the defense, not so much on the special teams. Brandon Joseph had a punt return, which Red Snapper tweeted out, and Styles and Tyree. We returned a punt. Isn't that amazing? It's better than fair catching bullshit. So, look, the special teams is the one unit that's actually doing something. Granted, we haven't broken off a long return, and we did block a punt, right? And that onside kick was halfway decent. It didn't work, but
that's okay. I was gonna get there. Here's the thing about the onside kick. I've never seen a ball placed in that way and kicked that way, but
I'm not
didn't
a
work.
kicker.
Except for the fact that I don't know what is being told to our hands team, the offensive side, not the return side, but the kicking side. You can go to where the 10-yard mark is and wait for the ball. Those two morons ran past the ball and let the Marshall guy fall right on it. That's the only issue I have with it. It was designed perfectly, and it was executed almost perfectly, except for the last 2 yards.
I mean, at that point, those plays are Hail Marys, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'll be very honest with you. I didn't even see the play because like I just saw like the very end, and I was just like,
well, you got to go back and watch it because Notre Dame should have recovered that. Now, again, what does that mean? Who the hell knows? We probably still don't win. It doesn't matter. But you need to see it on the television because I kind of just accepted we're not winning, and I was over yelling and being super emotional because I was just over it. But that got me out of my chair going, like, getting pissed again because there was no reason we did not recover that, honestly. It was set up perfectly. We had two guys, one of which was Xavier Watts. They literally could have, and I don't know how legal it is to box out the Marshall guy. I don't think you can totally do that. But the timing was there for them to literally go to the 10-yard mark, turn around, and fall. And they both ran past it, like full speed, out of control, and just let the Marshall guy fall on it.
yeah. You know, it's sad when we're down to Marshall and we're trying to. This is like the quintessential like Indiana Jones MacGyver like dive under a door that's crashing down to save the world kind of bullshit. Like, look, we're Notre Dame, they're Marshall. Yes, there's arrogance when I say that, but my point is like we have so much talent and it's a home game and it's like we shouldn't even be in this situation, and we are. And maybe that's why Patterson is getting so frustrated because he gets it now and he's like, damn it, I need to do better. And that's what I hope for. You know, I really hope that, you know, these guys reflect on this, right? There's nothing worse than going in and playing a game and know that you beat yourself. I mean, this doesn't even compare, but I remember when I was in high school, my senior year, we lost to a team that was not better than us. And that's because we beat ourselves. And we were so pissed after that game, not because we lost to the other team per se, but because we let ourselves down. And I imagine that our team right now feels something like that. Patterson, Brandon Joseph, who's transferred, right? You know, Drew Pine, you know, he realizes he has to step up and be a leader on the offense. I really hope Pine comes out there with the swag, shows composure, and delivers. Granted, he needs to step up, right? You know, I've kind of been critical of him, but I don't do that to be negative. I do that just to point out, like, look, man, this is what you have to do. So this is the kind of situation we're in as Notre Dame fans. Well, we've talked to a lot of people. If anyone else wants to jump on, by all means, we are over 2 hours in. We are trying to figure out what is wrong, what sort of constructive criticism we can give to our Irish 2 games in. I mean, look, guys, we have 10 games left this season. The season is far from over. You know, there was definitely a fall chill in the air tonight. You know, we after work, you know, we had some food in the crock pot and it's like, hey, let's go for a walk to put the baby on the stroller, walk around the neighborhood. There was definitely a fall chill in the air. Doc is thinking that the leaves are starting to change. I told her, no, that's false. It's fake news. Whatever. That's not happening. We are not doing that.
We need to find some leaders.
Captains.
We don't those. I don't. Well, you know what? They're supposed to, but they are not. This, like Jason said, Jason hit it on the head. Nobody took charge in the Ohio State game, and nobody took charge on Saturday. I was there thinking, man, is somebody just gonna step up and say, hey, get on my back, let's go? Whether it's offense, defense, or both, or special teams, somebody just say, hey, let's go. Because I watched Michael Mayer's body language after he caught that last touchdown, which didn't matter because we didn't recover the onside kick. And yes, we should have, because you could wipe out them Marshall guys like they're nobody's business. And we could have got that ball with 14 seconds to go, but nobody wanted it. So it's like we need somebody that needs, I don't care if it's a freshman, somebody just say, get on my back. Let's go. I'll take you. Let's go. Somebody. I mean, Jared Patterson was the only person that I saw show any kind of emotion after that game and was pissed. I'm thinking, you're going to be satisfied with a loss like that because you're going to be the blunt of all the jokes, just like Michigan is with Appalachian State, who, by the way, beat the number 6 team in the country on Saturday.
Yep.
I mean, get a leader, somebody. I mean, somebody just step up. We've always had leaders all the time. I mean, as long as I've been watching Notre Dame football since 1968, and there's always a leader. Who's leading this team? Nobody.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's who it is. Somebody do it. Because if not, guess what, boys? We ain't winning many games, and we keep playing like we played against Marshall. It ain't going to happen.
Manti Te'o coming, though. Manti Te'o going to speak, so hopefully he can light a fire.
Yeah, well, I saw Brandon Joseph had a moment where Notre Dame was down, and Tariq Bracy made a play and was celebrating in a way that even before Brandon Joseph walked over to him, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And then Brandon Joseph literally grabbed him and like pulled him back to the huddle, like, dude, chill out. It's fucking Marshall. We're losing. Yeah. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, somebody's got to do something, guys, because I'm telling you, it's just there's nobody that I mean, if this guy does it, great. If Brandon Joseph wants to be the leader of this team after playing for Northwestern, so be it. Somebody do it. I don't care who.
And I don't know how you would do this at, in the position they're in, but like a Chris Tyree, I brought him up briefly, but the fact that this dude only has 11 touches through 2 games is an issue. I feel like Chris Tyree needs to, and again, I don't know how you address this as Chris Tyree going up against Freeman and Reese, but like, give me the fucking football, please. Yeah. I don't know how you do that from a player to coach perspective, but I also don't think he can go to, well, not Buckner anymore, but Pine or Angeli and be like, dude, give me the fucking ball. Well, the play Tommy Reese calls, it calls for me to run it up Zeke Carell's ass, so I don't know how you're going to get the football for this one. But,
we need to show up our blocking. I agree, but if we can't get blocking for either him, Diggs, or Estime, consistently, which is what we need, because think about it. We got Drew Pine, and we got a true freshman behind him, and then we got a walk-on behind him. So we got to get the line shirt up because, Cal's going to be bringing people. I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to be blitzing. They're going to do all kinds of crap on Saturday.
No, that's fair. But here's the thing about Chris Tyree. The touches he's gotten haven't been between the tackles as they shouldn't be. He's undersized in that department.
Oh, yeah, he needs to go off tackle. They need to run with him, they should have been running the option that they run. And either either Buckner gives it to him or pulls it and runs himself. I didn't even see that yet. And you're correct. Because if you give it to Chris, great. If he can get that edge and it can break a couple tackles, boom, boom, before you know it's a 30-yard gain. We haven't done that yet.
If I may, prior to the Buckner injury, I kept saying to myself, like, man, we haven't seen Tyree at all. And it's like, well, shit, Buckner's having all this success running to the edge, running to the outside, right? Why? Because he's fast, right? Why can't we put someone like Tyree, his stupid fast, just throw him a toss? Just do a toss. It's like this one of the simplest plays. Just toss him the ball, and just run to the outside and just hope that, you've picked, a side.
Sweep. I mean,
even a jet sweep. Absolutely. That's another great example, Dave. That's the kind of stuff that we didn't do. And it's like at some point you have to watch what is happening on the field, right? Okay, we can't run through the tackles. All right, fine. We have to either do short passes because we're not hitting anything long, which I've already ranted about. So we're either doing short passes or running to the edge. All right. Forget everything else you know about this football team. Who would you hand the ball to and trust to run to the edge? I would trust Tyree, Styles, Diggs, and Buckner. Those 4 guys. But we didn't toss the ball to any of those guys at all. Instead, Buckner just is keeping it. We're running basically a wildcat glorified with him. And then he gets injured. And in some ways, I kind of blame the coaches for that. It's like, wait a minute. You guys didn't fucking think this would happen? This is like one of those risk rewards things. It's like, man, you guys are trying to, this is a Top Gun thing here. And you're going to write a check that maybe you won't cash.
Yeah,
except the surgeon will, because he had to do surgery today, so he's going to get paid. But
is Buckner he's what, 6 foot, maybe 6'1"?
He's like 6'1", yeah.
And he weighs maybe 180 pounds.
I mean, it's fast as shit,
You're going to run him more than you run your running backs, and you expect him that he's going to come out of every game smelling like roses. Instead, that ain't going to happen. He's going to get his dick knocked in the dirt, and that's going to happen. Guess what happened on Saturday? His dick got knocked right in the dirt. Now he's off for the year.
Well, it's his shoulder, but yeah, I get your metaphor.
3-8 runs off tackle, so you have a hat on a hat, and you at least get kind of a chip block somewhere and pitch it, like you were saying.
Yeah,
he's the blocking in the world. It's all scoop blocking with a kick out.
Because if Tyree, bro, I mean, if Tyree gets a crease in there, he's gone. Nobody will catch him. I mean, you got to be able to be creative a little bit with the fastest. We got the fastest kid in college football on our team, and we're not utilizing that speed. I don't understand. I mean, it's like, and we got the best tight end in college football, bar none. You know what I mean?
It's really irritating how we as fans, not that we're irritating, but like to me it seems like almost like the answers are so simple. It's like, and I haven't broken down plays of what Reese is trying to do. It's almost like
I'm trying to figure out.
Well, and like to 5 Foot Nothing's pod, he talks about the bingo card thing, about like, oh, we just need to like, I don't even think it's really bingo. I think it's more like he just got a deck of cards with plays, and then it's one of those like, it's like a magician who's like, all right, pick a card, any card, and it's like he's randomly picking a card from the pile. Or he's got like plays in a hat and he's like drawing them out and he's like, oh, we're going to run this play next, right? It's like, are you actually watching what's happening on the field, down in distance, what is working, what is not, or what is the opportunity and what is not?
And who your damn personnel is.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, how many times you're going to be in 2nd and long, which in itself is a problem. There were way too many 2nd and longs, 9, 10, whatever yards.
Yeah.
And I think we ran it 7 times in that situation, which The reason we were in 2nd and 9, 10, 11 was because we ran it on first down. Like, what are you doing?
I know.
Which
agree,
is really
bro.
irritating to a
agree.
point I said earlier.
agree.
It's like
I
if you
agree
can't run between the
totally.
tackles against Marshall, we've got bigger problems.
What is our
It's not us
I'm
running
trying
the
to
ball.
figure out
It's
Reese's
us running the
philosophy.
ball between tackles. That was the problem.
Yep.
It's not like
Yeah.
we explored going outside. It's not like we ran counters or dives that were or draw plays that were delayed runs. It
Yeah.
literally was the same play in different sets, 7 different times.
Yeah.
That's literally the difference. If
Yeah.
we ran the edge, if we literally had different personnel in, if we had different sets, that would have been something completely different if we ran off tackle, but we never did.
No, and you can always pull a guard and have the tight end come in motion and kick out and have that guard lead and give the ball to Tyree on the outside and let him pick a nice little crease and run.
Be careful, we're talking about power running. This is everything I've been screaming about.
I mean, it's just you got a kid that can just flat out pick them up and put them down, and they're not utilizing that.
Yeah, and they're certainly not helping Estime run between the tackles either because we can't run between the tackles. Well, men, we are over 2 hours into the show tonight. I really appreciate everybody jumping on tonight. It's late here on the East Coast. It's a school night. Anyone from Dave to Kevin to 5 Foot Nothing Pod with his contributions to ND Fanatics, Coach Parsegian to the Slayer who joined us briefly. The ton of people, Wookie, Jimmy Gallagher at least jumped on. He didn't speak, but that's fine. I think 5 Foot Nothing Pod insulted him with some Red Sox banter, but that's whatever. But then,
Do you guys like my analogy about the dirt? I hope you did.
Well, screw the Yankees, go Reds.
No, hey.
Oh my gosh,
hey,
I'm
a
like
Cubs
2
fan,
seconds from
Wookie,
muting all
and
of
so
you
me
guys.
and you are fighting for the basement.
Well, unless anyone else has anything here, I'll do my usual downplay. I do not have any epic music here. We've kind of exhausted that with Buckner, which is really sad because I really enjoyed my epic Buckner salutation and the Ohio State salutation. Look, my message to close out the show tonight is very, very simple, and that is we cannot repeat ourselves. If we do the same thing that we have done the last 2 games, you could even argue the last 3 games, we're going to lose to Cal. And I don't like saying that, but I agree, and I think Jason Yeager gets the huge credit for being the first on the show tonight to say this, and other people echoed this, so thank you everyone for echoing. But we need leadership right now. When you need a player, someone like a Jarrett Patterson or somebody to get pissed, get in someone's face, and not that just scream and yell and be angry and all of that sort of bullshit. You need leadership. And it also needs to come from the players. But it also needs to come from the coaches. The coaches need to realize that any expectations they had at the beginning of this season, just as I said to our fan base here, forget everything you think you know about this team. Embrace the new. Embrace the now. Embrace what is. Then and only then will we succeed. That's not just a message to our fan base. That's a message to our coaches, to Tommy Rees, Al Golden, and Marcus Freeman. I said this at dinner after the game before the long drive back to Indianapolis. 3 hours. 3-hour drive. And not that I'm asking for sympathy. Well, all of you and Wiki is, drinking and taking shots, right? Because you're pissed at this game. I had to stay sober and just listen to Metallica to cope with this loss. And that, again, that's not to ask for sympathy. That's just reality of what I had to do. But Marcus Freeman is the guy who will have this loss, his first home game, a loss to Marshall, on his record forever. Something needs to change. Something needs to change. I don't know what it is. And I don't get paid at all to make this decision. But something radically needs to change. If we just go under center and we're in an I formation, if we're just doing jet sweeps to Tyree on offense, I don't know. But something must change. If we trot out the same bullshit game plan this week, we're going to lose again. Defense, look, get some fucking turnovers. Okay? Play aggressive. Don't play stupid, right? For a brief period, it almost sounded like we were doing the 2012 bend don't break thing with Bob Diaco, right? But we don't have any damn turnovers, so it's not actually a really good comparison. We need to do something radically different as a team. Now, I will be there. I am not backing down. Fighting Irish Faithful will have their tailgate this year. We are going to the Cal game. If you're not even going to the game, but if you're a season ticket holder or you're going to the game, Fighting Irish Faithful will be at the game. We're not going to be in the Joy slot, though. We're going to be in the library lot. The library lot was available to me, but we will send out the bat signal as soon as we're there. If you want to join us, talk to Jason, talk to Dave, talk to any of these guys who've come by. Craig, Kevin, Brandon, all these people we have met on Twitter. Anyone who's listened on the podcast version, send me a DM on Twitter. We're very welcoming. I expect nothing but fellowship and friendship and politeness, right? Just show up and, just be friendly, right? We will be there. I can't guarantee anything about Notre Dame, but we will be there. Looking forward to it. This is my last game in person, so as far as I can tell, unless I win the lottery, but that's not going to happen. This is the last game I'm going to this year, and then everything else is going to be on TV, on Peacock, or whatever else we're watching the game on. So we will be at the game, which also means we will not be doing a post-game show, which is really funny because I bet the post-game show post this Marshall loss would have been absolutely epic-tacular, but that didn't happen. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're looking for constructive criticism. We don't want to just be negative, but this is tough. And this is a tough time for Notre Dame, but we're 2 games in. We got 10 more to go. We need to get better. Is this a turning point? I genuinely hope so.
Throws the ball. It is caught. Reggie Brooks. Reggie Brooks got it for a two-pointer. And Notre Dame is out in front 17-16. Lost the ball. The pass is batted down. It's batted down by Carroll.
It's caught by Samaja. Inside the 20. Inside the 10. He's going in. Notre Dame has scored. Dawson throws. Open receiver in the end zone. Touchdown. Notre Dame. Somehow the Irish did it.
Out of the pack. 30, 35. Goodbye, baby. At the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. 5-5 rocket touchdown. Irish.
Tyree. Whoa. Can he get there? Tyree at the 30. 20. 10. Touchdown. Notre Dame. Woo. 98. Big ones. Zibikowski looking for a block. Cuts to the right to the 40. Gets a block. Gets to the 45, 50. Up to the 45, 40, 30. One man to beat. 20, 15, 10. He's down to the 5. Touchdown, Irish.
Go Irish. Beat Golden Bears.